Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now, in today's video, guys, I wanted to come back to talking about the MCU. It's been several months. I've watched several more MCU and Marvel movies, and my opinion has changed slightly, but I wanted to talk more specifically about Phase 4 in this case, just because now I can definitely see that Phase 4 has a very consistent inconsistency, which is pretty funny. So I wanted to talk about Phase 4 more specifically in this one, but first, of course, I do have just a couple of announcements to make. My next video is going to be a movie review for Nope. I'm going to be watching that tonight, this Saturday. It's another Jordan Peele film, and I've watched quite a few of Jordan Peele's films. Well, he's only had a couple. And I've kind of gotten into him. So I wanted to stop by and watch Nope. I wasn't really sure what else to watch right now. There's not a whole lot of interesting movies that I've been anticipating for a while coming out into the theaters lately, so I figured I would just watch Nope as kind of like a side movie to try out. Also, it's a horror movie, so, you know, I'll see how it is, and I'll make a movie review for it. Other than that, I'm going to be making the part 2 for the Bully Maguire video that I released. I was going to announce that in this video, but I just made it before. I spent a couple of hours working on it, and then I just uploaded it. So, yeah, I'm going to be releasing the part 2 for that. And then stay tuned for future content on the R's Political channel. If you're not subscribed and you're interested, go subscribe. I am trying to build the channel. Join the Discord. Link is in the About section. Read the community posts to stay up to date. Other than that, let's get to talking. Like I said, there has been a very consistent inconsistency in the MCU so far. It's been a couple of weeks after the release of Thor: Love and Thunder and after I watched it. Now it's been 2 weeks. And I figured I just wanted to stop by and talk about the MCU once again. Because I feel like, there just hasn't been any consistency in the MCU Phase 4 so far. Every movie so far has been either mixed, like mediocre, or just straight up bad. And there's only one, which if I'm talking about Phase 4 in general, you can put this one on pedestal, because this one I would just always exclude. Spider-Man No Way Home, forget about that. That is on a pedestal. That movie is obviously great. Everybody knows it. I loved that movie. Big nostalgia for me who, grew up watching Sam Raimi and the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So put that one on a pedestal and forget about that one for now. I'm just talking about pretty much all the rest of the Phase 4. So just going down the list so far, I guess I should start there. I mean, you had Black Widow, which was bad. You had Shang-Chi, which was good. There was only 2 aspects to it that I really liked, which was the few moments where we actually got the choreographed martial arts scenes, which I really liked as a martial artist myself, and the villain. Then you had Venom Let There Be Carnage, which I know is not an MCU movie, but I'm going to include all the Marvel movies in here as well. Venom Let There Be Carnage, which was underwhelming, but an enjoyable hour and a half for the most part. Then Eternals, which was just straight up bad, boring, bland, and no good humor. You guys all know that. You had Spider-Man No Way Home, which was obviously great. You know my opinion on that. Then you had Morbius, which was pretty bad, despite the memes. The memes were amazing. I love that. They were short-lived, but I loved it. And then you had Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which a little bit underwhelming on some aspects. There were a few parts that I didn't like, but overall I did like Sam Raimi's tone in this movie. It felt like more like a horror movie than an MCU movie, so I really liked that, and there were some really cool visuals in there. So probably my second best for the Phase 4 so far. And then you had Thor: Love and Thunder, which was just a complete mixed bag of nuts. I don't even know how I feel about that movie. So yeah, as you can see, there is just absolutely no consistency in Phase 4 so far. And I haven't even mentioned that there have been several MCU movies that have almost completely contradicted themselves. Like, I don't know what the producers are thinking, what Kevin Feige is thinking, but there have been at least 3 MCU movies that have completely contradicted the direction that Phase 4 is going to be going. You have one that is saying it's going to be about the Celestials, you have one that's saying it's going to be about the multiverse, and then you have another now that's saying it's going to be about the Greek gods. Where are we going? And if we're going with several directions, I think it's better to just stick with one simple direction. Like Celestials was the first one that was introduced. Stick with that. Celestials is a big part of the MCU comics, and that could be a really, really good villain that you could spend a lot of time on, other than trying to shove in everything else and force it into here. They need to take their time and be more patient, and I think that's the big problem of why they're being kind of inconsistent, is they're not taking their time and being patient, and that's why there's just no consistency, there's no cohesiveness between the Phase 4 movies. But not only is there no cohesiveness, there's no individuality. And the reason why I say that is because it feels like every MCU movie, except for a couple that I can exclude, have felt like their sole purpose is to be a setup movie. And that's okay. It's okay if your movie is meant to set up for another movie, but don't make that be its sole purpose. Have individuality. Give me a reason to watch that MCU movie other than just to set up for a future MCU movie. So there's been no individuality, but there's also been no cohesiveness and no clear direction, and that's how we've ended up with this very mixed bag of nuts in Phase 4 so far. And another thing that has annoyed me is if you work at a movie theater, this is especially annoying, but even if you're just if you just watch movies very frequently, it feels like every MCU movie has to have an end credits, even if the end credits is unnecessary. For example, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I get why Sam Raimi did this, but he put that little gag at the very end where Bruce Campbell is punching himself in the face. I get it, but Sam Raimi, he usually puts like a funny scene with Bruce Campbell in the movie, not in an end credit scene. So I think it would have been better if he just did it in the movie instead of all the way at the end and making us stay till all the way to the end to watch that. I mean, if you're going to make a funny bit at the end of a movie, do it as a bloopers. Don't do it as a little funny gag that's meant to troll everybody. I get why Sam Raimi does it. He does it in a lot of his movies, but that was like a big one. And then at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home, they put in the trailer. They basically put in the trailer for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I think that was pretty unnecessary. All they needed was the little Venom scene. That's all they needed, in my opinion. So they need to stop doing 2 or 3 end credit scenes in one movie. Two or even all of them are just very unnecessary. And not only are they doing them in MCU movies, they're doing them in Disney movies now, too. I haven't watched Lightyear, but I have watched the end credits because I work at a movie theater, of course. 3 end credit scenes in it. Why do you need that? They're doing it with Disney movies now, too. And it makes every other, outside movie or even indie movies, it feels like people, they're like, well, is there going to be an end credit scene? I have to stay. I have to, find out and watch. And people will make the excuse that, well, I just wanted to see what the cast was. You can look up the cast on the internet. So that's just kind of a side thing that's really annoyed me, is that now I think they're going a little bit too extreme with the end credit scenes. I remember back in Phase 1, where watching an end credit scene was like a special thing to do. Like, only a select few people would stay to watch the end credit scenes. And now it's like super obvious, like everybody knows it, everybody knows to stay. So I think, I don't know, they need to make like some kind of change where, if an end credit scene is coming, or they just don't throw in an end credit scene in every single MCU movie. I mean, like back in Phase 1, the end credit scenes that they had were like small, maybe not even 30-second clips, and they just said like one line in them, and they instantly got you excited. And now they kind of drag out, and they always have to have a funny gag, or they're just a trailer or something like that. I miss the small scale, like one line that got you super, super excited. Like in the first Iron Man movie, for example, you had Nick Fury come into Iron Man's mansion, and he's like, he was talking about the Avengers Initiative. He's like, we're trying to get people to become a part of this Avengers Initiative. And then they continue to build off of that in Iron Man 2, and then, of course, Captain America, the First Avenger, Thor, all the other movies that were in Phase 1. And that's back when watching end credit scenes meant something. Like, it was like, if you watched an end credit scene, not only did you get a lot out of it, but also you were like a special person. And now it's just not the same anymore. So that's kind of not really about Phase 4. That's just MCU in general. But yeah, Phase 4, definitely the worst phase so far. Phase 1, in my opinion, I know a lot of people are not a big fan of Phase 1, is my personal favorite. I really liked the unique tone that was with Phase 1, that kind of beta stage of the MCU. I really, really liked it. It gave me that pre-MCU feeling. And I know a lot of people didn't like it because they were still trying to find their humor and everything like that. But I think their humor now, especially in Phase 4, has gotten really, really bland and stale. And they need to find a new tone for the MCU, because this one is getting a little bit too bland for me. Phase 2, pretty good. Obviously, that's when a lot of the sequels were being made. You had a few new characters being introduced. Guardians of the Galaxy, of course. And then I think it either ended with Civil War or Phase 3 began with Civil War. I think Phase 3 began with Civil War, if I stand corrected, but Phase 3, otherwise known as the Infinity Saga, is what most people say is the best phase because, of course, it's Civil War. You kind of got the last few Infinity Stones being introduced, and Infinity War came out, and it was just all-out war from there, going up against Thanos, the big threat that we've all been anticipating, and then the very, very conclusive Avengers Endgame, which was one of the most highly anticipated MCU movies in the MCU. But now we're into Phase 4 after Endgame, and it's crazy. It's honestly mind-boggling to think that it's been 3 years after Endgame. Can you believe that? 3 years after Endgame, and I still don't feel fully reset and ready to go into a new direction after Endgame. To me, Endgame will always be kind of the true ending to the MCU, and I'm okay with continuing watching MCU movies and seeing what they do, in the future. But to me, Endgame will always be the true ending, and I don't think I will ever feel fully reset, but I don't at all feel reset, even though it's been 3 years after Endgame. I feel like I should already be reset by now. But no, I'm not, because there's no consistency, no cohesiveness, no clear direction that they're going with. And there's not even a lot to be excited for. The next 3 MCU movies that are supposed to be coming out are Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Oh my god, I was about to say Wanda Forever. Wakanda Forever, which without Chadwick Boseman, I don't think there's a lot they're going to be able to do with that. It's probably going to be one of the worst in Phase 4. And then you have the Marvels, which I'm definitely not excited for, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, which most of the Ant-Man movies have been pretty so nothing really to even be excited for. So yeah, just not a lot of good stuff to talk about in Phase 4 so far. And it's still going to probably be this way for at least another year or two before they finally find a clear direction. But that's pretty much the current state of the MCU, more specifically Phase 4, and I just wanted to talk about it. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So stay tuned for the future content that I announced. Subscribe to the Ars Political channel if you're interested in the stuff that I do there. I'm trying to build the channel, and join the Discord. Link is in the About section. Read the community post to stay up to date with all of my future content. Other than that, like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you next time.